going to build a rocket today. And Marlon would tell me, yes, he's going to build a rocket and he's going to do this and he's going to make it go into space and he's going to do all that. So Marlon would sit in the block area and just build with the blocks full of Karen. I like 45 minutes. I'm telling you, it was really, look, Marlon did what he said he was going to do. He planned, he's going to go in that block area, he's going to make rockets, and then afterwards he recalled and said, this is what I did. So how did I encourage Kay? Well, again, Kay was a teacher across the hall from me. She had my child, but I would talk to Kay about Marlon's plan. Back then in the 80s, we didn't have Google, we didn't have internet. So what did I do? I asked Karen to get books and talk to Marlon about what he wanted to do and how he was going to do it. And that's how I engaged with Karen. We was just not teachers, co-teachers. We formed a partnership. As a teacher to a parent, we had a partnership. We engaged with each other. And today, Marlon is where Marlon's?
Working for NASA. Working for NASA as an aerospace engineer. And by her telling me to support that and to do that, I did all the way throughout school. He started in preschool. I remember in elementary classes, every science fair, he wanted to, I spent millions, well, not millions. I spent a lot of money at Hobby Lobby getting those rocket launchers and the motors for rockets, because that's what he was into. And it just went with our curriculum. And Diane, I was so excited about it because her co-teacher at the time, Miss O.T. Whitaker, who is now, they were the first ones in our program to get the HighScope training. And they would drive from Detroit to Ypsilanti to get HighScope training. So Marlon was getting HighScope from the training room. Someone had mentioned Mary Holman during the conference. And yes, she was the trainer, and they were getting that information raw. And I grabbed hold to that, and that was where I was excited about teaching and teaching in this way of building on the children's interests. And his interest was always space. And I mean, we would watch all the space movies together as a family, and that was his interest. And so building on that was just something that just came naturally. And I want to talk about Diane's daughter, who was in my class. Now because we were close. We had that relationship that the panelists had talked about, and we kind of miss that today with the teachers and the parents relationship, because people want to be separated. But I think through this pandemic, that relationship has kind of come, because we're Zooming now and everybody's relationship. But we had that relationship, and because of the relationship, Diane's daughter saw that we were teachers, and now her and her sister, they are now daycare owners, and they have business mind sense of being what it is for education is important. And I'm just excited about how our children started and where they are now. They're living their dreams. They're doing what they have planned to do, and they're doing it, and we're sitting here reviewing it.
Let me just tell you, Diane, that your story really, it almost brings tears to my eyes, just to know that it's just a testimony of how important it is to observe our children, to step back and just take a look at what their interests are. I have a 2-year-old, and sometimes you just get so caught up. I got to do the laundry. I got to do this. I got to do this. And teachers all have so much on them that if you just step back a second, see what they're interested in, and then feed that interest. And my goodness, he's doing what he said he wanted to do in Head Start.
Yes.
That is just amazing. Well, we have a lot of information and questions that we want to get to. So let's hear from some of our listeners. And thank you so much, Diane and Kate. Really, really appreciate that.
No problem.
We would like to hear from our listeners as we move into the participant question and answer portion of the discussion. And, guys, it would help me too if you write your questions, who you would like me to address them to. That would just help me a little bit. So type your questions in the Q&A box, and we'll get to as many as we can. And I will go ahead and get started. Forgive me because I don't have it pulled up here. But there are so many good ones that I was looking at earlier. So let me get back up here to the top. This anonymous attendee says, I was referred to this webinar by my local Indigenous Child Care Center, and I was wondering why the Indigenous communities were not involved in the rapid assessment of pandemic impact on early childhood household survey results, considering they face similar systemic issues as the Black and Hispanic communities. Who would like to?
I think that was meant for me,
Okay.
Kim. First of all, let me say that I appreciate the question, and I sent that to the researcher. I don't know, I can't say that there aren't any Indigenous people in the survey, families in the survey. What I did in those slides was I used the top 3 most populous, the numbers of people in the slide, and the top participants are white families, and the second is Latinx families, and the third is Black families. There may be small numbers of Indigenous people in the population, but people he's doing the survey with. But let me tell you this, I can't answer that. Only the researcher can answer that question, and his name is Phil Fisher. And I put the link to his website in the box already, or someone did. You can list a question with him, because this survey is all going. Right now, it's every other week. And it's driven by families. Families join the survey. They find it on Facebook. They go, I'm in that, I'm doing that. And 1,000 families every other week is on, are sending us information about what's going on with them. So I also asked him if he'd be interested in maybe talking to someone of you online, whoever you are, about how he might add more families from Indigenous populations and nations in the survey. So that's what I can tell you. I sent it to the researcher. If I get an answer before this program is over, I'll let you know, or I'll send it to the HighScope staff.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Ms. Kennel. Our next question goes to Ms. Edwards. Is there an access resource in the Ohio area?
So I actually see that a lot of folks were asking about access in different areas. A couple folks in Ohio. Unfortunately, I do not personally know of any resources in Ohio. That's a little bit far out of our area. Right now, as I mentioned, we're serving Dearborn, Detroit. We have a few programs in Melvindale. I know Celeste asked a question about that earlier as well. So we're slowly inching out into the outer communities, and as we continue to receive grants from the government, as they allow us to move into further zip codes, we would love to continue outreaching services. I see someone else asked about Lansing as well. I know there are a few Arab American services in Lansing through the Michigan State University in a lot of cases, but there is not an access there currently. But I'm sure that our organization will be glad to know that there are communities asking for those resources, because that means that we will eventually reach you. There's actually one more question about Oakland County.
I wanted you to answer that, right?
Yep. And we, again, don't have access services in Oakland County. However, we do have a partner organization called Oakland Family Services. And they do many of the same social services that we do, but for Oakland County citizens. And what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, and even if they don't have specifically translation services, if that's what you're looking for, they might be able to refer you to someone in the county that does do those things, because they'll have a better knowledge of the resources available in that sector of Michigan.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Edwards. Our next question is another good one. I am witnessing the emotional issues in families, particularly children. Our teachers can't handle it alone, with many already having their own stresses during this pandemic. Our mental health team has been very, very busy. Has it become essential for us to enhance our mental health supports during these times, as managing emotions is vital in order to learn? So very important. What a great question. Who wants to answer it? Ms. Kennel?
Oh,
You gave some thumbs up.
You were so excited about it. Go for it.
Great question.
Yes, 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 yes. Teachers need support, and we've got to make more partnerships with child mental health and adult mental health partners in the community, and we've got to invite them in to talk with our staff and build their capacity to be able to be the front line, because they're the first ones that are going to see it. Doesn't mean you can be therapeutic and see it, and you can make connections with expertise that do this as a living, but we have to. That's just got to become a central practice in teaching and learning. And it should have been a central practice before the pandemic, but it's definitely going to have to be an essential practice going forward. We've taken that with us. So I'm sorry, I'll let the other people.
No, that's okay.
I just wanted to chime in on that because in the position that I am in now, as the early childhood specialist at the Bussey Center in Southfield, that's one of our main things. In fact, that was one of our goals before the pandemic, the social emotional piece. And we saw the need for it, and we do have our mental health consultant who's been like going overtime, not just for the families, but also for the staff. And we have been making that available to them. We've also have done things for the staff to help them become just mental health things like Zumba classes, meditation. The director and myself, we just went through a 8-week course of mindfulness, or how we can help our staff become better equipped with their emotions and what's going on with them so that they can be better to serve the families and the children. But mental health is what she's saying. Our family engagement person has had every week, we have something for the parents on Zoom, and we always kind of embed that mental health in there too, because it's important. What's going on, like you said it yourself, Kimberly, this has not happened in any of our lifetimes before, not mine, not the people that we are serving. And to make sure that that's happening is so important, and we want to just keep doing that, and that's just become more so than the academics. Reading and writing, they'll get that. But this mental health piece is key. And a lot of people try to sweep it under the rug, but we have really been going forth when doing that. And I just implore that everybody do the same.
And if I can just piggyback on that, because I think there's two really important elements. One is that we've always known it's important, right? The well-being of a caregiver, whether that's maternal depression, whether those are the adverse childhood experiences, whether it's toxic stress. These are all things that we all knew. Yes. I think that the added element to this is the communal trauma. So we know we have a lot of experience. Let me just tell you 2 words: Katrina, right? I mean, this was a natural disaster for a lot of communities. Mm-hmm. This did not impact all of us equally, right? Or equitably. And I think it's important for us to lift that up, that there is there is science, there is research that we have about what it means for a community to go through a traumatic event as a community. People that experience tornadoes, right? The person across the street from you lost their house and you didn't. What does that mean, right? But everything else got devastated, right? And so I say that because it's important for our teachers and our educator partners to understand that we actually know something about this, and languishing, that there's a cycle to this, right? That there are actual important strategies that by lifting it up, being awareness, so that you understand what's happening to you as an educator, as a parent interfaced with the children, and so you can observe and see what's happening to children as they might experience euphoria, and then behavioral concerns, right? Mm-hmm. All that is part of the cycle of trauma. That is what I think that a really important takeaway, that this is part of a traumatic experience for a lot of families. That means our families.
I know, she
looks like we lost you again.
On the good part.
I know. Dr. Ezeh, I didn't want to leave you out. It's such a good question, and we're spending a little bit more time on it, but it's important.
Everybody is saying almost what I was thinking about, but what I was going to say is that I'm so happy that we've been acknowledging it, because for a long time we did not acknowledge it, and BIPOC, community, children of color got punished for that because of what is in the environment. Before it was the lead, it was the water, it was just the poverty that our children were going. I was telling one of our funders the other day, I said, all our children are depressed. I'm not a clinician, but I could see it in their eyes. Our parents are too. So now that we're beginning to acknowledge that, the one thing I will leave with the participant is environment is a third teacher. How can you make the environment so that it can do a little bit more for children, relax them, go easy on them and all that. And maybe we need to rethink just dragging every child to timeout because they're acting out. Because like Gloria was saying, even if I didn't lose my own house and I saw that my friends are losing their own house, or Jimmy's grandpa or Bo's grandpa died, but mine, the children can feel that too. So thank God that we are beginning to acknowledge that. In Grand Rapids, Michigan, we have a program called Keep Early Childhood Education Positive, because we have identified that our early childhood education children, they need special attention. It can be mental health that we use for a teenager that we're going to water down for these children. So we have to make sure that we have infant mental health, and we also have clinicians who specialize in working with children. But also, because of the whole racial equity thing, know that minority children are going to be experiencing this even more. So we have to do targeted work and pay attention to them. And to me, that's why equity comes in. A community who have really high concentration of poverty and all these issues deserve a high concentration of resources and intervention to kind of help pull them out of it. Thank you for the opportunity.
You're on mute, Kimberly.
I'm sorry. Okay. I feel like we could do a whole panel discussion just on this topic.
Yes.
It is so important, and it affects all of us, So thank you so much for all of your comments. I'll get to the next question. We just have a few more here and we're running out of time. Are the translated materials available in Urdu for families? I have families that do not want the shot, and I have no information for them in Urdu. I'm assuming that might be for Ms. Edwards. Please answer quickly.
Certainly. So that one's fairly easy. We have lots of folks who speak all different dialects from the Mediterranean sector of the world. So what I would suggest is going to our website, www.accesscommunity.org, because there's lots of different phone numbers and offices and things, and you can find the place you're looking for. Give them a call. They will probably know somebody who speaks Urdu or can get you in contact with somebody who does.
I want to say something also, because this is so regional. In Grand Rapids, we have Refugee Education Center that also work with a whole lot of people from the refugee community. You have the African refugee people from Bosnia, from all over Syria coming. So I think for every community there is that. Most people on the panel just answered the question that was posed to them. So we know that there is all these organizations or agencies that are working with all types of families. So if you're struggling, just either reach out to your United Way or 211, or reach out to HighScope to connect with us, and we'll get you that, because all the communities, they are included in all those communities that are very vulnerable, that are struggling. If you're a refugee and you're here and your world is falling apart, before you left your host country, you're here now and things are falling apart, you can imagine the trauma that they're going through.
Yeah, absolutely. So important.
So important to be vocal about this. Don't put it under the rug anymore. This is really, we've got to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. It's okay to say that I'm not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Decal.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And we don't want children of color and families of color to be punished because they are exhibiting what is normal under the emotional stress that they have been under. We've got to educate our staff, not be biased against that manifestation of their behavior, and we've got to make sure we get some help to support staff and external help with partners, because this is going to be front and center. It always was there, but now it's going to be front and center.
This has been an amazing discussion. I feel like we're just getting to the meat of it, and I want to keep talking, but they're telling me I have to move along because we have a hard stop time. I'm so sorry, but
we need a part two.
We do need a part two. I'd like to thank just all of our panelists and our participants for this discussion. And right now, I'm just going to close things out and let Kim button it up for us and say goodbye. Thank you for having me too. I really enjoyed this, and as the mother of a 2-year-old, everybody has enlightened me to something. And as I said, you just get so bogged down with work and household chores and everything. Sometimes you just have to step back and observe and look at yourself and see, you know, I need to have sometimes just a mental health day for myself, just to do nothing. You know, my husband thinks, oh, when you go out by yourself, that's enough. It's not enough. But I could keep going on, and I'll button it up now and pass it on to Kim. Again, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much to all of the panelists and to Kimberly Gill for a great discussion. There was a lot of valuable information that we shared, and we hope everybody enjoyed it. I'd like to thank WDIV for being the media sponsor of the 2021 HighScope Conference. We are taking a short break for lunch before you head to your final breakout session. We hope you have enjoyed HighScope's virtual conference. We missed hosting you in person, but we plan to be back in Detroit next year. I hope many of you will join us. Don't forget to take our survey and share your feedback with us. We look forward to reading your comments next year. And thank you to Key Bank and Oakland University for sponsoring our featured session today. Thank you again for joining us.